I hit that too hard. Wow. Okay. All right. Okay. We're going to call the meeting to order, okay? Call the roll.
Yes, ma'am. Ross?
Here.
White?
Here.
Taylor?
Here.
Robinson?
Here.
Baxter?
Here.
Harris?
Here.
Hyde is absent and Witcher is absent. A quorum is present, ma'am.
Okay. We will have prayer and pledge led by Council Member Baxter.
President Bob, we're just thankful for this time we can come together and conduct the business of the city of North Little Rock. We just ask, Lord, that you'd let us have an open mind, an open ear, an open heart, and hear what others have to say. But in the end, Lord, we just ask that the decisions that we make tonight will be pleasing in your eye. We ask that you bless this meeting. For I ask these things in Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Is there a motion to approve the
So
minutes?
moved. Second.
Okay. On the motion to approve the minutes of the previous meeting, Ross?
Yes.
White?
Yes.
Taylor?
Yes.
Robinson?
Yes.
Baxter?
Yes.
Harris?
Yes.
Communications, we have 1 through 7.
Anyone want any communications?
Number 7.
Pulled. Number 7.
Move to accept and file 1 through 6.
Second.
All right.
On 1 through 6, Ross?
Yes.
White?
Yes.
Taylor?
Yes.
Robinson?
Yes.
Baxter?
Yes.
And Harris?
Yes.
Number 7.
Please read it.
This is a letter from the Mayor's Office dated March the 9th, 2018. Ms. Diane Whitby and honorable members of the North Little Rock City Council. Dear Ms. Whitby and council members, this is to advise that I'm attending the National League of Cities 2018 Congressional City Conference on March 11th through 14, 2018. Council member Linda Robinson will be presiding over the city council meeting in my absence. Sincerely, Joey Smith, Mayor.
Move to accept and file.
Second.
On the motion, Ross?
Yes.
White?
Yes.
Taylor?
Yes.
Robinson?
Yes.
Baxter?
Yes.
Harris?
Yes.
Okay. We don't have any special presentations.
Okay.
And so, public hearing. 1817, I think it is.
Yes, ma'am, you need to convene that public hearing, and no one signed in to speak, but I don't know if someone might be here that wants to.
Okay. We're going to convene a public hearing. Now, a public hearing for 1817. Should you read that, just in case?
I can go
Go
ahead
ahead.
and do that.
An ordinance adopting net metering and distributed generation rules for the North Little Rock Electric Department.
That's the second reading.
Okay. We don't have anyone who has signed up to speak, regarding that. So, since there's no one, we're going to close the public hearing, all right?
Now, is this going to be called for a vote tonight, or is it going to be held?
That's all.
Going to be called? Okay. Yes, ma'am, that's correct. Do you want to go ahead and ask for a motion?
Why don't we go ahead and call it for a vote?
Okay. Is there a motion to suspend? It's been read 2 times. Is there a motion to suspend the reading?
So move. Second.
On the motion to suspend, Ross?
Yes.
White?
Yes.
Taylor?
Yes.
Robinson?
Yes.
Baxter?
Yes.
Harris?
Yes.
Now you need a motion to adopt.
Third reading.
Third and final, no, you need third and final reading first. Yes.
An ordinance adopting net metering and distributed generation rules for the North Little Rock Electric Department.
Now you need a motion to adopt before you can discuss it.
So moved.
Yes, Ross.
Second.
Okay.
I just have a few questions, and I know that Jason Carter's here can answer every question I have on
I
net
am
metering.
pleased to answer your questions. We've got a lot of work done on this, and on these net metering distributed generation rules. It's taken a long time working this through the department, but it's a pretty good product I think we're proud of. One of the things to note is we currently have net metering rules, but they are not in conformance with the state law that has been amended that it's gone through now. So these rules would be current and would replace our existing rules. It also incorporates our distributed generation rules. So those are facilities larger than net metering allows typically. And now we're going to have a unified approach about how we deal with all of those. So that's, as an introduction, that's kind of what we're doing here, and I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
I guess, do I still have the floor?
I didn't hear you.
Do I still have the floor? Can I speak?
Yes, you
Okay.
do.
Net metering, will you just kind of explain a little bit what net metering is so that we can understand what we're discussing?
Typically, when we're thinking about net metering, although it can apply to different types of renewable energy resources, these days we're primarily thinking about solar panels, the big blue panels, gathering energy from the sun. On the residential installments, they can go up to 25 kilowatts or the maximum peak load of the residence. For commercial or industrial installations, they can go up to 300 kilowatts. So they're maximized as to how large they can be. But net metering effectively rolls the meter backwards. So instead of paying for the energy that you've used, your solar generation not only offsets what you're being used, but if you over-generate, you generate more power than you use at one particular time, it rolls your meter backwards. So it's effectively the department buying that energy from you at the retail per kilowatt hour rate as is required by law. So that results in some cost shifting from people who don't have net metering facilities to people who do have net metering facilities. That's why we treat distributed generation differently. One of the things that we've learned, especially through our VA project and the project out at L'Oreal, is what works best for the department and I think best for the city is that the customer pays for their electric use like they always do. Nothing really changes. We just buy the energy that they produce, but we buy it at our avoided cost. So we look at our kind of long-term weighted average cost about what we pay for electricity, and that's what we buy the energy for from the solar facility. So with distributed generation, they can build larger. Of course, that's the concept. They could exceed that 300 kilowatt limit. But we've made it clear that that's not limitless, right? Our distribution system can only physically absorb so much energy, and we don't want somebody putting so much power on the distribution system that it inhibits someone else's ability to have a distributed generation facility or their own solar power if they would want to do that too. So the maximum is both, there are two maximums that are put in place, and you've got to pass both tests. One is to say what is the peak usage of the facility, and the other is how much energy is generated during a particular month. If they generate more energy than they use in a particular month, we're not buying that energy from them. We're trying to make that clear, and that creates an economic pressure for them to be realistic about how much they're actually going to use and not start trying to create energy is that's their business. Now their business is in the generation model. So that's how those, if that helps to understand
Absolutely.
the difference between net metering and distributed generation.
And another thing was just on the fees. I was looking at, on the net metering fee. I guess and I know that you explained a couple of these things as far as, we have
Sure.
to have these fees as far as inspection fees because we have manpower that's actually.
So let's talk about what these fees are for real quick. An application fee is just so that our engineers can review the paperwork, they can understand what's going on our system, and to make sure that we can accommodate it with our current infrastructure. So for a net metering application fee is $100. For a distributed generation fee, which would be a much larger facility, that's $250. Now, prior to interconnection, somebody's going to go out there and inspect it. And we're going to make sure that this is going to work safely in parallel with our distribution system. So because we're rolling a truck, we've got people who are out there who are checking off on this and making sure that everything works right. It's more labor intensive. We have a $250 fee for net metering installations and a $1,000 fee for distributed generation facilities, which can be quite large. They can be large facilities. So we think that's important. It's important to have a good inspection. If the power goes out and we have linemen who are out working on our distribution lines, it's going to be important that those safety mechanisms are in place on solar facilities, distributed generation facilities, that they disconnect from the grid or they'll backfeed electricity onto the grid and put our people in harm's way, and we certainly don't want that to happen. We want to make sure it doesn't happen. The periodic inspection fee is for every 3 years. So those are applied in 5 and 6. The aggregation fee only applies to customers who have more than one location and want to tie those locations together as far as load goes, so to offset their generation in 2 places instead of 1. So that takes some administrative work to set that up and to monitor it and to make sure that it's audited and it's done properly. So there's some fees that are associated with that as well. There is a note at the bottom that if somebody wants to have a distributed generation facility that is not co-located with their load, they want to put that somewhere else in the city, they can do that, but then there will be wheeling charges, and we don't know really what they would be. We'd have to analyze that based on where it's going to be installed on the system.
So that would be Rule 2.03 was my next question. It says new or additional charges would come back towards city council, so that's what that 2.03 is for?
They would have to come back to city council. So we want to give people predictability within the business model so they can decide what it is that they want to do. Most of the people these days who are putting in solar power do it because they have an environmental commitment. It's important to them. They want to express who they are. And we just want them to understand what the financial side of that looks like when they're getting into that.
And there's also a $5 monthly fee.
There is for meter aggregation. If you want to tie those 2 separate locations together, then there'll be a monthly fee that goes along with that.
Quick question
Yes, sir.
for the citizens out there listening and saying, well, I'm going to go get me some shields and put on my house and turn my meter. You got an example of economic data of that lately? I mean, what is it? What's the payback on that?
Well, EIA has got some information out there about different solar costs, and it varies across the country. I guess I try to stay sensitive about what they call the parity point, about when it breaks even for someone to generate their own power just as well as to buy it from the utility. We haven't gotten there yet.
Yeah.
It's frankly getting closer.
Was it 12, 14 years or something like that? Was it longer than that?
From the math that I've done, it's a longer payout than that.
Okay.
So at the point when you start trying to calculate interest in is when the math really turns against putting in your own solar right now.
All right.
I think one of the things that the electric department is trying to explore to give people options with that is community solar. I think that's a much better option for citizens who are interested, and we continue to look at those alternatives for our community.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
This isn't really related to this document, but what happens if an entity does make more electricity than they're supposed to have, and what happens to that electricity? Is it stored in batteries, or is it?
Well, there are no batteries right now. There's no battery requirement. There's a thought process out there that says, well, maybe you let somebody build something bigger if they're going to put in batteries, because effectively, when they're not putting in batteries, we are their battery, right? Effectively, that's what they're doing. They're pushing electricity to the grid and drawing it off the grid as they need it. So we're their battery. If they push more electricity onto the grid than what they are using, then it will flow, as electricity does, to a lack of resistance, presumably to another customer. As solar has grown around the country, the concern is at what point do you get so much solar generation or localized generation that it starts pushing back across the bulk electric system. And NERC, the North American Electric Reliability Corporation, is looking at that. There's regulations that are probably in the drafting stage right now that could, possibly impose fines for disrupting, creating a problem with a bulk electric system through overgeneration.
Thank you.
Okay,
Yes.
yes,
I just want to say thank you. This was, I mean, it's very fascinating, very well thought out. It was hard to read through, but I made
Well,
it.
it is. It gets a little technical, and we tried to be similar as we could to the Public Service Commission rules, so that when someone comes through the state of Arkansas, we don't catch them off guard by our rules. They're harder for people to read who aren't familiar with them, but for people in the industry, they should be very familiar.
Thank you.
okay, we're going to close the.
One more question, one more thing too, is while, you know, this may appeal to some of our residents out there, again, doing the math and all that, you know, there may be a price of, I don't know, whatever K for a solar install. We have building codes that require, when you install solar, to be put in a particular manner. So, you know, that's got to come into play too when a resident looks at the cost of, you know, going the solar route, so.
It does. One of the things that we put in here is, you know, these rules are geared towards safety
Sure.
and the financial arrangements that are made for it to be able to operate. This does not waive any zoning or building code requirements that attach. And those are important, especially when you look at renewable energy as a whole. You know, the windmills that are getting installed out there have hub heights that are 300, 400 feet off the ground. You know, they're as tall as a huge building. They're gigantic. So that's not something that you would put in your downtown area.
Okay, we're going to close the public hearing. Now, did y'all hear it? Okay. We're going to close the public hearing. Now, what I propose is that we pull this out of line and go ahead and call it. Is that okay?
We've actually already done that, and we already have a motion and a second on the third and final reading to adopt it.
Okay.
On the motion, Ross?
Yes.
White?
Yes.
Taylor?
Yes.
Robinson?
Yes.
Baxter?
Yes.
Harris?
Yes.
And Height?
Yes.
On the emergency, Ross?
Yes.
White?
Yes.
Taylor?
Yes.
Robinson?
Yes.
Baxter?
Yes.
Harris?
Yes.
And Height?
Yes.
Great. R-1811, the mayor wants us to hold that
Okay.
piece of legislation. We don't have anything on the consent agenda,
No, ma'am.
so now we're ready for new business.
R-1854, Mayor Smith.
We need to read it one time and then get a motion to adopt.
Yes, ma'am.
A resolution approving and certifying amounts of liens to be filed with the Pulaski County Tax Collector against certain real properties in the city of North Little Rock, Arkansas, as a result of grass cutting expenses and abatement of other nuisances.
Move for adoption.
Okay, I guess we need to convene a public hearing on that, correct?
We do, we need a second.
Second.
Okay, yes, ma'am.
Okay, we're going to convene a public hearing on R-1854. Okay, public hearing closed. Next item.
On the motion to adopt, Ross?
Yes.
White?
Yes.
Taylor?
Yes.
Robinson?
Yes.
Baxter?
Yes.
Harris?
Yes.
And Height?
Yes.
R-1855, Mayor Smith.
Call it. We're going to read it as well one time and then get a motion to adopt.
Okay.
A resolution authorizing the mayor and city clerk to sell certain property located adjacent to the proposed downtown plaza, Argenta Plaza, in the city of North Little Rock to First Orion Corp.
Move for adoption.
Second.
Is there any discussion?
Any discussion? Move forward.
Okay. On the motion to adopt, Ross?
Yes.
White?
Yes.
Taylor?
Yes.
Robinson?
Yes.
Baxter?
Yes.
Harris?
Yes.
And Height?
Yes.
Ordinances 01821, Mayor Smith.
Please call it.
An ordinance amending the 2018 quota ordinance, ordinance number 8980, for the North Little Rock Electric, Finance, Fire, Police, and Utilities Accounting Departments. First reading.
Move to suspend the readings.
On the motion to suspend the readings, Ross?
Yes.
White?
Yes.
Taylor?
Yes.
Robinson?
Yes.
Baxter?
Yes.
Harris?
Yes.
And Height?
Yes.
Need a motion to adopt and then a motion to amend.
Second.
Ross,
We have an amendment.
Yes.
you have an amendment.
Yes.
Correct.
We've been given the corrections on there.
Yes. The corrections are in green, and they are, did you want those discussed? It's help desk specialist
There was an
for
email.
the Which department is this? Electric? And it looks like firefighter, you're adding 6 positions to firefighter Y01. And that looks like all of them.
But there's under fire department, there's 3 captains and 3, what was it?
Those were in the legislation as
That's the
filed.
amendments, right.
Okay.
And there's one more amendment on page 6, to add the word system to system engineer.
Oh, yes. That's your amendment?
Yes, but can I clarify something, though? Because I know that there's been some questions on this, and what this is, this changes the captains from 42 to 45 under the fire department, firefighters from 57 to 63, they added 6, and from lieutenant from 43 to 49, which added 6, so that's a total of 15 positions that we're adding, permanent positions that we're adding.
Okay, on the amendment?
On the amendment, Ross?
Yes.
White?
Yes.
Taylor?
Yes.
Robinson?
Yes.
Baxter?
Yes.
Harris? Harris?
Yes.
Height?
Yes.
Is there a motion to adopt as amended?
So moved.
Can we get a second?
Second.
Okay. On the motion to adopt, Ross?
Yes?
White?
Yes.
Taylor?
Yes.
Robinson?
Yes.
Baxter?
Yes.
Harris?
Yes.
Height?
Yes.
On the emergency, Ross?
Yes.
White?
Yes.
Taylor? Robinson?
Yes.
Baxter?
Yes.
Harris?
Yes.
And Height?
Yes.
Concludes new business.
How about that? Okay, we now have public comments on non-agenda items, and we have one. Jimmy Ard.
Yes, ma'am.
You may make it. You got them shortest that we ever had. I'd like to make a few statements, please. I have no quarrels with the kids playing basketball on the street. But when they stick them goals out over in the street, and you're going down the street and you have to move over to your right so you can pass another car, and the goal scrapes your vehicle, please think about this. If you're going to have an ordinance, you're not supposed to have them, at least make an ordinance they have to keep them up in the yard, not out over the street. Or we'll have to start, maybe the people that's doing that will have to start paying for paint jobs. Also, we've got a lady that does not want to go by any ordinances or anything. Hopefully the new code officer will be able to catch her doing a lot of stuff. She's been turned into the ethics committee, and they don't seem to want to do anything. So I would appreciate it if they would come down hard on her and make her abide by the rules and regulations of the city if she wants to do business in the city of North Little Rock. Thank you very much.
Does any of the aldermen have anything?
I just want to say that we do have, those basketball goals are not allowed out over the street, and code needs to be contacted if anyone has been having a problem with them.
Okay. Excuse me?
She did not sign in before the meeting started, so that's going against the policy of the council, but that's up to you, if you choose to allow that.
What,
I am a new resident of North Little Rock, and unfortunately, traffic also created me to be late.
okay.
That's up to the chair.
3 minutes.
What is your name, please?
My name is Barbara Brown Smith, and I am a new resident of North Little Rock, and this is just really a meet and greet for I can get acquainted with my ward person, in which I was told that I was in Ward 1, and
That's us.
where is it? Mrs. Beth.
Us.
Let me
Right here, the
find
first
it. I
two. You
have
got
it here
it.
somewhere. Mr. Carroll gave it to me. Miss Debbie Ross and Mrs. Beth White is
One and
my
two. There we
ward
go.
person. And as I stated, this is just a meet and greet, and hopefully traffic will not hinder again, and I will be late. And I do would like to get with you, my two ward person, and get acquainted with you.
What-
Thank you.
What was your name again?
My name is Barbara Brown Smith.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you.
Does any of the other aldermen have anything? Okay.
I just want to say
Councilmember-
congratulations to the North Ark High School boys and girls basketball team, state champions, yay!
Hey,
Great
all
week.
right.
You know, it's the first time, to add something to that, it's the first time that a high school, especially in North Little Rock, had won the football championship and both basketball championships in their classification.
And chess tournament.
Chess?
Yes.
Man,
We're on a
Okay.
roll.
I missed that one.
Yeah.
Councilmember Robinson would like to see Chief Davis after the meeting. Do y'all have anything else?
Move adjourn.
All right.
On the motion, Ross?
Yes.
White?
Yes.
Taylor? Robinson?
Yes.
Baxter?
Yes.
Harris?
Yes.
And Height?